Raffi, itu mute.
Ya, bisa sekarang, Pak? Ya, can you hear me now, Prof? Yeah, okay. Yeah, selamat siang, namaste, a very good afternoon to all of you all. Nama saya Raffi Makhija, promoter of Indian education in Indonesia, and also will be your moderator for today's session with the topic Delivery Education Online International Best Practices. Bapak Ibu, for today's session, please allow me to use bahasa gado-gado, bahasa Inggris sama bahasa Indonesia, karena saya sendiri udah 20 tahun tinggal di Indonesia, and kalau ada salah-salah waktu pembicaraan saya minta maaf ya Bapak Ibu, karena kalau udah minta maaf, kalau bikin salah nggak apa-apa ya Bapak Ibu, jadi terima kasih untuk sebelumnya. Selamat datang ke peserta-peserta, participants yang hadir dari yang hadir acara ini. Very happy, senang sekali untuk bilangin untuk acara ini kita ada participants from 33 provinces of Indonesia, from all over from Aceh to Papua. It's only Kalimantan yang masih belum hadir. And also Bapak Ibu, kita ada participants from India, France, Morocco, Turkey, with a total participants of almost 700. Selamat datang Prof. Zainal Hasibuan, Ketua APTIKOM, and also one of the prominent speakers for today. Welcome, Prof. Also, please allow me to welcome Professor Vikram, one of our prominent speakers from India. Welcome, Prof. Vikram. And also, kita would like to welcome our team APTIKOM, the team webinar, and all our friends of APTIKOM from Indonesia. Bapak Ibu yang kita hormati, let me share a brief background about how this event came into existence with the topic Delivering Education Online International Best Practices, Bapak Ibu. Sebelumnya tahun ini yang tanggal 9 sampai tanggal 15 Februari tahun 2020, Bapak Ibu, APTIKOM, a team of APTIKOM of 30 delegates led by Professor Zainal Hasibuan as a president of APTIKOM visited India. And waktu ada kunjungan ke India, the delegation visited two cities of India, which was Chennai and Bangalore. And during the visit, objective visit adalah caranya gimana kita explore collaborative links antara India dan Indonesia. So during the visit, the team visited 5 universities and signed 4 MOUs dengan universitas-universitas India. Itu adalah Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology dari Chennai, SRM Institute of Science and Technology from Chennai, Acharya Institutes from Bangalore, Nitya Meenakshi Institute of Technology from Bangalore. Bapak Ibu, yang hari ini yang topik yang acara yang ini is one of the implementation out of the visit of APTIKOM to India, and that's why today's topic untuk acara ini adalah one of the first joint international webinar series with the topic Delivering Education Online International Best Practices. Sebelum kita mulai acara ini, Bapak Ibu, may I request all the participants to please mute your microphones. Jadi presentasi ini bisa lancar, can go uninterrupted. Also, kalau Bapak Ibu, if you have any questions, kalau ada pertanyaan, please share your questions on the live chat box, and we'll be very happy to ask the questions to the speakers. So, before we start the session, Bapak Ibu, please allow me to give you a brief profile of Professor Vikram. Prof. Vikram is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta, currently working as Deputy Director, Acharya Technology and Business Incubation. and also a senior faculty member at Acharya School of Management, Bangalore. A PhD in finance, loves connecting with people around the world, brings in decades plus of rich corporate experience from multinational companies like Standard Chartered Bank, Kotak Securities, and many others. Areas of interest of Prof. Vikram is finance, business, strategy, designing businesses and revenue models, and also teaching learning methods. Professor Vikram has been to Indonesia. Jadi Bapak Ibu, Prof. Vikram is not new to Indonesia. He has been to Indonesia last year and loves Indonesia and also the people of Indonesia for their hospitality. Um, so may I now request Professor Vikram to please deliver his presentation. Prof. Vikram, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. In fact, I'm very happy to interact with all of you. As Ravi rightly said, Indonesia is one country which I really love traveling. In fact, I've been there twice. I enjoy, the company of Indonesian people. Quickly, let me start my session today. Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay. As you all know, today's session is delivering education online, international best practices. What I would be discussing in this brief session is various methods and tools and techniques that we as teachers can use to make our education effective and reach out to students. Thanks to there are a lot of research. Thanks to all the researchers who have done tremendous amount of work in helping us understand what can be an effective teaching learning methodology when it comes to online. Definitely, COVID also brings in an opportunity for all of us, for all the teachers to go online. In the sense, in a traditional classroom, we generally can only reach up to certain level of students. I can have at maximum 60 or 100 students in my class. But what happens online is you can have students across the world and you can teach them and they can be your students. So definitely this is an opportunity. So let us now try and understand how we can use online as a platform to deliver education very effectively. I'm glad to share my thoughts with all of you and also to learn from each one of you during the course of this webinar. To start with, let me first uh, try to understand or explain my thoughts on the difference between traditional classroom based education and online education. So here it is. So let me go point by point. The comparison between a traditional classroom and online education. What happens in a traditional classroom is it is generally proximity based knowledge transfer. In the sense, the student and the teacher they are together, they are physically together, they come to a classroom. So the knowledge transfer happens in the classroom. Now, the focus here is the traditional classroom is only knowledge transfer, right? The knowledge gets transferred from the faculty member to the students, or maybe from one student to another student. So the focus here is only knowledge transfer. But online, that is not the primary focus. The focus when you are doing an online class is the discovery and construction of knowledge. Discovery and construction of knowledge. It means online as a platform helps a teacher to enable discovery of knowledge and to enable construction of knowledge. So it is not only about transferring the knowledge, it is not only about the faculty member comes to classroom, gives 1 hour lecture and goes out. So the opportunities for you to bring in variety of things into an online classroom is very high. Now the second point, the role of a teacher, the role of a faculty or a teacher is simply to be a lecturer when he is in a traditional classroom, right? He's a lecturer, he comes to the classroom, teaches and leaves, right? Online, you cannot simply be a lecturer. Your role is bigger. So you have to be a student success manager. You have to be a manager who manages the experience of the student, and more importantly, you are somebody who is an instructional designer. So as you can see, the role of a teacher is getting bigger and wider. So there's a larger scope now where you are, you as a teacher, you can now be an instructional designer or you can be a student success manager. So that is very much important and very interesting for them. Now the third point, what happens in a traditional classroom kind of setup is the major focus is always on assessment. If the student did well in the exam, then I may say, okay, the teacher taught them well. If most of the students in the classroom did not do well or score well in the exam, then I may say, no, the teacher did not teach well. So the whole purpose of a traditional classroom is to assess students based on their performance in a traditional examination kind of system. That we may debate and kind of bring in new elements here, but examination is not the only metrics for us to measure the performance of the student or the teacher. So what happens when you are teaching online is the key metrics here is impactful engagement. Now students would definitely try and understand or see if the teacher is engaging them impactfully, point one. Point two, they would also look for skill delivery which will enhance their employability. So this becomes your key metrics for assessment when you're teaching online. So when you're teaching online, the importance of traditional examination is gone. So here you will have to engage your students as your audience. If you do not engage them, if I don't engage them, my students may not be with me. They may get disconnected, right? So the key metrics also changes. Now the fourth point. Here I've mentioned BYOB. BYOB means bring your own books. Okay. In a traditional classroom, the student brings in his own book or study material or notes, whatever, and learning happens through the capturing of learning happens through those materials, right? But online, it is BYOD, in the sense, bring your own device. So each student naturally will be online using his laptop. So what I meant to say here is, each student is a walking computer lab for you as a teacher. You can use the lab the way you want it to effectively engage the students and teach him a lot of skills. This cannot happen when a student is sitting in the classroom only with books. So when you have a student with laptop, you can come out with different ideas and strategies to leverage the laptop or use it like a computer lab for each student and then deliver their education in a much more effective way to increase the employability of the students. Right? So BYOB versus BYOD. Advantage with One small advantage with traditional classroom is peer learning is automated. What is peer learning? Peer learning is I look at my teacher. I am a student. I look at my teacher and I learn from him. I look at my friend who is sitting next to me or in my class. I look at him and I learn from him. My friend learns from me. So this is peer learning. In a traditional physical classroom, peer learning is automated, right? One student looks at another student and he learns. So the learning is shared, right? But online, because students are online being a distributed model, students are sitting in different places, in the comfort of their home. They cannot learn by looking at others, right, on their computer screen. So here the challenge for the faculty is to trigger it tactfully such that you engage one student with another student to ensure peer learning is happening, because peer learning is an important component in teaching learning methods. Okay. So you as a teacher need to trigger peer learning. Now the sixth point, body language. When you are in a traditional classroom, your students can see you physically live and they observe knowingly or unknowingly, they are observing your body language. That cannot happen in an online session, right? What you can do instead is you can use voice modulation, you can vary your voice, and then you can use visualizations to make sure your delivery is very effective. So that is the difference when it comes to traditional classroom and online. The last one is Performance metrics and analysis is a challenge. How do I know, me as a teacher, how do I know that my students are learning or my students are having any difficulties or challenges in learning? That may not always be possible or very effectively possible in a traditional classroom. But what happens in an online classroom is learning analytics report. You can use data science, which can give you a dashboard, right? We do this by when we use Acharya Live as a platform. What happens in the live platform is that for each student there is a dashboard. You have a dashboard where you can click on the name of the student and see what are his challenges, where in which areas he is doing good, in which areas he is weak. All the set of information which is driven by data science is available to you as a teacher. So today what I do is, if I want to understand how my students are performing or what challenges they are facing, all I do is I go to Acharya Live platform, log in, and then click on the student name. I get a dashboard. There are colorful graphs. I can see which student, what challenges he is facing, and how I can address them. So that is very much important in the futuristic education, because you as a teacher should, we as teachers should know how to leverage technology. That is the most important thing here. So that can be done online, and we at Acharya have successfully experimented this, and the results are fantastic. Now, going ahead, let us now understand what are some of the key components of an effective e-learning or online learning. Let me ask you a simple question. If today they say there is an advertisement which says, we will teach you swimming, but it is completely online, will we go for that course? I don't think so. I don't want to join any course because I'm very much scared to join an online swimming course, which where I watch a video and then learn how to swim. That is not possible. I get scared easily. So, what are some of the things which can make education online very effective? Three components. Trust. Trust, when I say, the student should trust you as a teacher. So you need to make sure that your students trust you. Trust is a critical factor. If they don't trust you, then they will not think that you are an effective teacher, and they will not learn from you. So you need to build trust with your students. And how do we do it using online? I'll explain in some of my next slides. Second question is rapport. The student should have a very good rapport with you. You need to have very good rapport with students. Now, how do we do this? It means you have to go beyond your syllabus and then help students in different things. For example, you may tell them which companies are hiring now, what are the key skills that are required for this profile. Suppose, let us say, Amazon or Gojek or Grab in Indonesia, if the company is hiring, now you as a teacher should go to their website, download the job description or recruitment advertisement, read it, communicate this to your students, and tell them one, two, three. These three things are the key skills that this company is looking for. So when you do all these things beyond your syllabus, definitely students will have, between you and students, you will have a very good rapport. Now the last point, tangibility. In a traditional classroom, it so happens that everything is visible. There's tangible evidence. There's a classroom, there's a board, there is a physical teacher. So, human brains trust whatever is tangible. So, the challenge in online is nothing is tangible, right? I may be from a very good, very big university, but the student is sitting in front of a laptop, and he doesn't care, how big your university is. So how do we build tangibility? It means you have to give a lot of other materials for the students, in the sense the study material, the recommended books, the notes, the models in Excel file. So many things you will have to give, such that the student understands and starts believing you. Now, going ahead, there is some a little bit of technical things I would like to discuss with all of you. So, when a teacher is teaching online, we will have to understand what is the instructional design model. Now, what is instructional design? Instructional design is a set of design or a policy framework as to how to teach effectively. Now, fortunately for us, there are a lot of researchers in the past who have done a great job doing research to improve quality of education. I have listed around 6 to 7 of those models, instructional design models, IDM, we call it as IDM, instructional design models. The first one is situated cognition model. Okay, what this model says is knowing and doing cannot be separated. It says there has to be a very strong marriage between theory and practice. We as teachers cannot go to a classroom, simply cover a concept and come out. You have to show them how that can be applied. Okay, so that is what this model says. I'll keep everything brief here because these are very big models. Now the second model is socio-cultural learning. What happens in this model is, what this model proposes is that you as a teacher should know the background of your students, from where they come from, their family, their culture, their lifestyle. You as a teacher should understand these things before you start delivering your sessions, right? So when you are trying to teach something online, let us all as teachers make sure that we understand our students in detail, right? Their family, their culture, their lifestyle, their likes and their dislikes. You need to know a lot of these things because once you know this, you can easily trigger peer learning strategies, right? You can connect one student in the classroom to another in the same classroom and then make sure students learn and they learn effectively. The third model is ADDIE model. What ADDIE model says is analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. Okay. So something close to Bloom's taxonomy. This model also tells us to analyze things first, design, develop your material, implement, and then evaluate your teaching learning method. The another model is called David Merrill's model. David Merrill's model I will explain to you in detail in my next slide. Moving on, there's another model called individualized instruction model, where the primary benchmark is if your learning method is so good, then it means you have to make sure that your students or learners should know how to complete a task autonomously, that means independently on their own, right? So that is the end goal. There's no other benchmark. This model says the end goal is find out if students can do what you taught, if they can do everything on their own. If they can do everything on their own, then it means your teaching learning method was good. If no, then it needs to be improved. There is another model called SAM model. What SAM model tells us is it says do not stick to any instructional design model. Keep experimenting, go for multiple iterations, and whatever works for you is a good model for you. Now, I will spend some time on this model, which is called David Murray's model. Professor Dr. David Murray proposed a model which I believe is a very good model for us to apply when we are teaching online. What Dr. David says is, he says the first step is to make sure that you demonstrate. In the sense, Dr. David says, do not start to teach something directly. He says, first prepare the students and make them face a real world problem. Give a real world challenge to a student. Let him do that. For example, let us say you are teaching, you want to teach thermodynamics or some concepts from physics, chemistry, or biology, whatever. Do not go to a classroom or do not start an online session and say, hey, look, today I'm teaching thermodynamics. He says, don't do that. Instead, give students a practical problem. Tell them this is the real problem, this company is facing this problem, can you solve this? Let the student try to solve the problem. So when the student tries to solve the problem, the student will now understand that it is very difficult to solve the problem. That is where the teacher comes in. So step one is to make students face a real world problem. Now, step two, what Dr. David Murray proposes is activation of previous knowledge. Now, once the student has already faced a real world problem, now tell the student, you as a teacher, hint the student that uh, make sure that students use their previous knowledge, which could be previous knowledge from the same subject, or it could be interdisciplinary, previous knowledge from different subjects, right? Now, you as a teacher will hint students to use previous knowledge to solve the problem which they face in step one. Okay. Now, when step two is done, now the faculty or the teacher will say, can you apply that concept here? That is step three. Step four is integration into real world challenges. Now the teacher will say, okay, you understood, you faced a problem, you understood what is the problem, then you used the previous knowledge to solve the problem. The third step, you try to apply that to solve it. Now the teacher will say, let us integrate and see how we can test whether what we tried really solves the real problem or it is not solving the problem. Now, this mechanism of learning also involves, as a step four, that you scaffold to the problem progression. It means the teacher will select a small problem first, then increase the complexity of problem slowly. So there is no teaching at all. This model doesn't propose that we have to go to classroom and teach. This model says be an instructional designer, be a student success manager, facilitate learning by following these five steps. So in the end, the teacher will simply connect some concepts and say, this is the learning. So this is one of the most effective model is what I believe in my opinion, and which can easily be implemented when you are teaching online. Acharya Live as a platform, we have kind of used this model as a base to build the entire platform. Now, another important component for a teacher who is teaching online is to understand and profile each student. Suppose, let us say, I have 100 students in my class. Now, each student is a different student. Each student learns very differently. We all are different from each other. Now, me as a teacher, I should know what kind of student he or she is. It means I have to profile my student. There are different kinds of students. What I do in my classes, I profile them, I label them, right? This student, this is the profile. Now, why do I profile or label them? Because it helps me use some of the teaching learning strategies to effectively engage and help students learn fast and effectively. Now let us understand what are different types of teachers, students, I'm sorry. The first set of students are, there are some students who are enablers. What do I mean when I say enablers? These are the students who can help you enable effective learning in the classroom, right? You have some students whom you can trust and they will quickly enable such that everybody will start learning from them. Okay, so they are called enablers. So any new thing you want to try, you try with these people first because they are ready to take it. Now there are some students who are your ambassadors. Okay, they go around the campus, they go around meeting all their friends, and they keep saying, "This teacher is a very good teacher. She teaches well." So they are your brand ambassadors. So you should know how to leverage on them. And then we have some students whom I call the alpha. Means they are very aggressive, they are very strong, they are very, they are very aggressive students. Okay, so you have to be very tactful and careful with them. They are good students. All these are good students. All students are very good students, but they are different type, different variety. So when you are dealing with alpha, you have to be careful. You have to be tactful because they are very aggressive in nature. So you need to know how to manage a relationship with them. Then in your class, there are some students who are called opinion leaders. I think you all have experienced this. Opinion leaders are some students. If they say something, the entire class will follow the same, right? Good or bad. They can influence other students. They say something, everybody in the class will say, yes, this is right. So you need to be very careful. You need to be very tactful when you are dealing with opinion leaders because what they say in the class matters a lot. And then you have attention seekers. There are some students who keep on seeking attention from everybody. They want the attention always from their teachers. They want attention from their classmates in the class. So they keep seeking attentions. So you need to know, okay, this student is attention seeker. Me as a teacher, how do I deal with them? Now there are cross learners. What do you mean by cross learners? Suppose let us say there are some students who are good at singing or dancing. What happens with these students is they copy paste the learning as a template from singing or dancing and they try to apply it in your class. It means they always try to learn the same way how they learned in singing or dancing. Because when you are learning singing or dancing, there is a learning mechanism, there's a learning style. What this student does is he copies the template and he uses that template everywhere to learn. It's a fantastic set of audience, very easy to teach them. They are quick learners, so you have to know if somebody is trying to learn. I had a student who was very much good in cricket. Cricket is a game in India. He will always use the learnings from cricket in the classroom. So it's good, it's fantastic. So you can go with them and you will be happy teaching such students. And now there is another set of students whom I call as leaders and laggers. What happens is, first let me explain who are laggers. Laggers are a set of students where they are always little bit slow, right? It's good, it's not a problem. But compared to the class, they may be little bit slow. For example, you are, let us say you are teaching something and you just finished your class. A student may raise his hand and say, "Ma'am, I did not understand, sir, I did not understand what you taught in the last class." So they are laggers, they lag behind everything. So you need to know and you need to profile them and say, so that you can give some personal attention to these students and you can develop them. The role of a teacher is to help students. Now there are some students who lead, who always lead. In the sense, the teacher is teaching something, the student will not allow the teacher to complete. He will raise his hand and he will complete the sentence. Or you are trying to solve a problem, he will solve very quickly and he will say, "This is the answer." He won't allow the teacher to complete. So, this again, you need to know how to manage such audience. And there are some students who are sportive. Sportive, when I say, if you give them a critical feedback, they are okay. They take it very sportively. They do not get offended. But at times, you may have students who are alpha, and if you give critical feedback to them, they may slightly get offended. So that's again one more set of students. And then you have another set of students. Some students we call them as clingers. Clingers, when I say, these are the students who keep asking for help and support from teachers for everything, small and big. Example, the student may raise his hand and say, "Boo, my pen is not working." And next he may say, "Boo, I don't have a paper." Or then he may say, "Pa, I forgot my notebook today." So for everything and anything, the student keeps asking support. Okay. So that at times can disturb the flow of the class. But if you can profile them, what will happen is you can call those students well in advance and counsel them in such a way that they are always prepared for the class and they do not disturb the teacher when the teacher is teaching. Okay. Now, the next set of students, as I call, is visual or auditory. There are some students who can learn if the visuals are very good and rich, because their brain is designed in such a way that whatever they see, they capture it. Okay, so these are visual learners. And I have some more students who can learn only what they listen to. So they are auditory, right? They listen something and they learn quickly. The last set of students, their style is kinesthetic. In the sense, for them, touch and feel is very much important. So what do we do as teachers? We give them some projects, we give them some field works. So these students learn quickly if they do something, touch and feel. Now, these are some of the different styles of students and their learning styles. What we do on Acharya Live is we have enabled all these categories of students. So when a new student joins, you can use this platform Acharya Live and you can label the student or profile the student, and then you know how to deal with students. Now in the dashboard, it shows what percentage of students you have in these categories. So accordingly, a teacher can fine tune his delivery method when he is teaching online. One word of caution from my side is, when you are diagnosing students with these categories, you as a teacher should be very careful not to do wrong diagnosis, right? Suppose somebody is alpha and then you label him as attention seeker or you label him as clinger, that can be very risky, right? Or somebody, some student is lagging behind, but you label him as cross learner, then the learning may not be effective. So it means you as a teacher should know how to label these people, and you can do that easily on our platform Acharya Live. I do it on Acharya Live. So having said that, let me move on. Now, an interesting question I always ask myself. Uh, we as teachers, we always try to grab the attention of the students. But think for a minute, most of the students spend a lot of time on social media platform. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, so many other platforms, TikTok these days. They spend a lot of time on these platforms, but when we say there's some teaching learning happening, they may become a bit cold. They may go a bit cold, right? Why does that happen? Why? How can social media attract the young pool, and why? How we as teachers can learn those tricks? Now, these are some of the reasons why students get attracted towards social media, social currency, right? So it means Facebook offers something which is very interesting, and not only interesting, it also helps people to share it with others. We all want to look smart, we all want to look intelligent when we are in a group, right? So we always try to say something, some stories or something to others, such that they listen to you, they get attracted, and they start thinking that you are very smart. So that is called social currency. For example, if I tell you that an ant can lift the weight of another 50 ants, that becomes very, some people will say, oh, how is that possible? You will start thinking about it. And maybe you will start sharing with somebody else, right? The reason is, why do we share lot many things on WhatsApp? Whatever we receive, we tend to forward it to others. The logic, the psychological reason behind this is social currency. We want to look smart, we want to look intelligent when we are in a group. So, you as a teacher should also use this in your classroom. Now, the second point, people share content to relate to others. If I say, this happened to your friend, everybody will listen to me and they'll try to understand what happened, right? So your delivery cannot be very abstract. You have to relate it to students. You have to say, one of your senior in the class, your super senior, got a job in this company. This was the highest salary package, and the reason why he got the job is one, two, three. When you say this, everybody will listen to you. And of course, you need to use colorful visualization and audio rich. Your content when you're teaching online should be audio rich. It has to have very colorful visualizations. Plain boring PowerPoints, students may not be interested at all, right? And content variation, change in medium of instruction. Sometimes I speak, sometimes I allow other students to speak, sometimes I show a video, sometimes I bring in another website and then I show them something. Keep on changing the medium of instruction such that the students stay connected and they are with you always. The last one is FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out, right? If there is a great story happening, if there is something which is going viral, if there is something which is very funny, I don't want to miss it, right? I always want to know what is happening so that I don't look like an idiot when I am with my friends. So I have this fear of missing out. So it means you create something in the class so that students will always come back to you and say, I don't want to miss this class, right? So these are some of the components, psychological factors which are used by Facebook and Instagram when they are teaching or when they engage the students online, right? Now, few thoughts from my side. What worked for me, I would like to share my experience. When you are teaching online, one thing we have to understand is we need to engage students very effectively, in the sense, if I have a class tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., right? If I have a class tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., it means I have to engage my students much before the class. I cannot start my online class and then try to engage them. That will not happen. That is not an effective way of doing. What I should do is maybe one day before or maybe one week before, I need to engage my audience because this is an online class, right? Now, when you start a session, start your session with an empowerment statement. So, you as a teacher, me as a teacher, I have to make an empowerment statement. For example, I may say, today I will teach you an important technique on how to analyze a company in just 3 minutes. How to analyze a company in just 3 minutes. When you say this with a time factor in it, every student will get very much interested in what you want to say, right? Or you may say, today I will teach you how NASA builds a rocket. So instead of saying, I will teach you basics of gravity, don't say that because students will think I can read it on, I can read it from many books or I can watch some YouTube videos and learn, right? Don't say that. Instead, you say, I will teach you how NASA uses a technology to launch rockets successfully. Make this empowerment statement and then go back to your basic concepts. So that connects students and they will listen to you effectively. Create mystery. I'll later show you how to create mystery. Storytelling versus story showing. I'll talk about it slightly later. Now, this one is important audio visual conflict. Now, imagine you're a student, you're sitting in the class, and the faculty is showing something on the screen, and then he's talking, like what I'm doing now. I don't do this with my students, but you're all my teachers here, so I thought I'll give you a demo effect. What happens is if you are asking students to look at something and then at the same time listen to you, the brain is not designed to do both the things together, especially the male brains. Female brains can multitask, but men cannot multitask. Boys cannot multitask, and that's a research driven. What happens is the mind gets confusion, right? Gets into a confusion. Should I listen or should I see, right? So what you can do is you can avoid audio visual conflict. So what I'm doing now is to show you audio visual conflict. How to avoid it. See, I'm putting statements one by one and going slow, and then I explain, right? So you will have to use this trick when you are teaching online. 30-minute magic show versus 3-hour magic show. We all love magic shows, is it not? But if the same magic show runs for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, we may not be interested, right? So it means you as a teacher, when you are engaging students for 1 hour, 20 to 30 minutes is what you need to pitch in and present something. Rest all is a drama, right? Rest all is how you engage the audience. 1 full hour if you do lecturing, nobody would listen, right? Use voice modulation, increase your voice whenever it is required, reduce it whenever it is required, change the style of the tone. Uh, I'm not great at this, I find it very difficult, but research says voice modulation is critical when you are teaching online. Use colorful slides, make it very professional. Use images, graphs, show videos. Students will love. Add interactive PowerPoints. I'll show you slightly in the next slide. You can use video case study, and there are a lot of cool software tools like Acharya Live, which you can use to enhance your academic delivery when you are teaching online. The last point is when you are teaching online, in my opinion, we should not focus too much on examination because the moment I talk about exam, that adds a lot of stress on the student's mind. So he may get disconnected. So when you are teaching online, do not make it such that does not make it such that that whole purpose of learning is only exam. The whole purpose here should be the joy of learning. The sheer thrill of understanding something is much more important. Now, this is the technique called syllabus mapping. For example, I'm a teacher and this is my lesson plan. I want to teach my students these things. I want to teach them what is regression. I want to teach them maybe a little bit of Python. I want to teach them time series data. So this is my lesson plan. What I do in my classroom is I do not go to my classroom and say, I want to teach you these things, right? The thing is, students may not listen to me at all. Even if they listen, that may not be there in their mind effectively and for a longer period of time. Instead, what I do is, I say there is this company called Amazon. They want to hire somebody for their junior data scientist role. This is the qualification, this is the location, and this is the salary that they are ready to give. And I say, this is the job description. I show them this job description, right? I say, this is the company hiring, this is the position, this is the salary, and they are looking for someone who can do all these things. This is the job description. Slowly, then I say, look, I have taken some of the keywords from the job description and I have prepared my lesson plan. So, what happens when you do this as a teacher is, the students, your students will be very much attracted and be interested in your classroom, because here it is about the student, not you. The students will start believing you because he will think, okay, if I attend his class, this teacher's class, then I may be able to learn these things and apply for a job in Amazon. So that way you can map your syllabus to job description, communicate to students well in advance. Remember, I told you, engage students before you take a session. So send them this job description 1 week before you engage their class. And in the class, you say, I want to teach this. What we teachers generally do is, we share the syllabus, we share this first. The student doesn't care because he has not understood where this will be used. So instead, do not share your syllabus, share this first. Really works. For me, it has worked. Students pay a lot of attention when I do such sessions. Interactive PPT, I said. So this is the timeline, time limit which is running. Before it closes here, a student has to make a decision, right? Okay. This helps students to, for you to engage them effectively, because this is from the gaming mechanics, right? It's a game mechanics where you use the components of gaming in your class. Same happens here. There's a time bar. The student has to select this option or that option, and when he selects, you take the student into that particular story. So you can build all these things in Acharya Live. This is primarily built on Acharya Live as a platform, and we have integrated these things so that you can engage the student. When the time is running, it adds some kind of, the component of thrill is added, and then students get excited when they go through all these things. Now, as I've already mentioned, do not put too much pressure on students in terms of examination, right? It really, uh, you know, drives the student and takes away his learning bandwidth, and he may not be able to enjoy your classes. At least when we are teaching online, let us not focus too much on exams, because the student is here to have fun, he's here to enjoy his life in a right and positive way, and we as teachers should make sure that his employability skills are good, and then he gets a job or starts his own business, and he's successful in his life. That is our primary responsibility. So that is the thing. Now, as I said, create mystery in one of my class. In the 1 week before, I just shared this. I said, this class is not for everyone. Only adults can attend this class. Everybody started getting confused. Most of the students started asking me, sir, what is that you will be teaching? So when you can create mystery, you can grab their attention, and everybody will come with the curious mind to attend your session. And when you teach something, they really like it, they really enjoy. So you can create mystery like this. Now, a little bit on instructional design as a model. Okay, so when you are teaching online, these are the three elements of teaching learning. The first one is called staging. What happens in the staging level is, you as a teacher, you are setting the stage for the classroom. Okay, for 1 hour classroom, this you will have to be doing for 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes, or maybe previous class also, you set the stage for you to teach something and for students to learn something. So staging is step one. What we can do is, there's something called as flip class, where the faculty can record a short video and send it to students the previous week or previous night. The student goes through the video and is already ready to the class. He comes to class, you discuss key things, you discuss examples, or you solve a case study, you're done. So it can be a very effective way of teaching. Flipped classroom is very popular in India and abroad. You also have option to have a short audio notes. You can do a podcast. You can do flashcards. There are multiple methods, right? Uh, all these are done using. I do it using Acharya Live. The second stage of learning. Remember, first 15 minutes in the class you did this. Next 15 minutes you are going to trigger, right? What do you trigger? You start the trigger by revising what you have taught earlier. Give orientation. Orientation, when I say, prepare students in such that they are all oriented towards what you are trying to teach. Prepare their mind. Trigger brainstorm. Let there be a debate in the classroom. You question students, and then let students question you. Also, make one student to question another student in the classroom. So the whole class is very live, active, and they are discussing, right? The last point is deep dive and reinforce. You use these tools. You can go for voice modulation, video or digital content. You can show live poll. For example, let us say there is a new business policy in Indonesia. You can start a live poll in your classroom and ask your students how many of you agree with what the prime minister is saying, or you can ask how many of the students do not agree, right? So there is a live poll where you can use yes or no buttons, and you can ask students to vote. You can structure a question, ask students to vote. So that makes every student think that he belongs to this class. So he is very active, right?
Prof. Vikram, sorry, last 5 minutes, Prof. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I'm done. So you can also do teach back sessions, multi-board annotation, in the sense you can write something on the board, you can allow students to write something on the screen so that it is visible to everybody. So these are some of the things which I use on Acharya Live, where I can write something on my screen, students also can write something on the screen, right? So quickly, this is the difference between Alive and other platforms. The primary difference is Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft, or whatever. These are made for business meetings and not for academic purpose. But Acharya Live is always made by academicians for academicians. So it's a full-fledged LMS, and this is a meeting app. And these are some of the features, very important features which we have in Acharya Live. Your Zoom, Google Meet, and these platforms do not have such of these features, which are very much important for teachers. For example, student profile, attendance marking, right? The attendance capturing is automatic, because otherwise I'll spend 5-10 minutes wasting my time to mark attendance. Timetable is always there ready, right? More importantly, analytics report and dashboard for each student is always available for you as a teacher. So this is my short presentation. I just wanted to share my thoughts with all of you. With this, I end my session. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to present my thoughts with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Vikram. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. There was one query regarding the features of a live platform, which I think you already covered. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Prof, for that question. Uh, Also, just to inform everyone that we have almost touched 1,000 participants. So it's nice to reach across the whole of Indonesia as well as the other parts of the world. Also, yang peserta-peserta, ya tolong kita minta Bapak Ibu please share the APTIKOM TV channel on the YouTube. Um, please do like and also share it. Thank you. Now let's move on to the second session for today's presentation. Please allow me to give a brief profile of Professor Zainal Hasibuan, who is the president of APTIKOM. Prof. Zainal has done his high school and diploma from West Fargo, USA in the year 1980. And then Prof has completed his bachelor's in 1986 from IPB, which is Institute Pertanian Bogor from Indonesia. And then Prof has done his master's MLS from Indiana University in the US in 1989. And in 1995, Prof has done his PhD from Indiana University in US also. Prof Zainal, I know him personally. I mean, probably for the past 4 months or 5 months. Mungkin Bapak Ibu bisa disampaikan, Prof Zainal is a very kind, very humble person. And Bapak sibuk sekali, tapi walaupun sibuk selalu ada waktunya untuk guide and advice. So thank you, Prof. So without further ado, may I now request Prof Zainal to please deliver his presentation. The screen is yours, Prof. Terima kasih.
Okay, first of all, I would like to greet Professor Vikrams. Thank you for your presentations. It's really enlightened us to strengthening our motivation to go online. Even though we were expecting to have a live demo of the virtual classroom that you have, maybe we can arrange it some other time. Yeah,
Definitely.
hopefully. And besides that, also you already present some features of the virtual classroom that you have. It is very interesting. I think for sure that it will be one of the topic in APTIKOM later on. We will discuss further how we gonna improve our online learning so far, beside all the technology and capacity that we have so far. And also, we also would like to have a strengthening our collaborations since we went to Acharya last February, just about the COVID started, I think. Yeah, we spent, I think, 3 to 4 hours in the airport, got checked up. But thanks God, all of us can come back safely to Indonesia. And now we are facing the COVID, and here we go. We meet through online. Uh, and again, to all my Apticoms fellow joining in YouTube, please do not hesitate to post questions or suggestions because not all of us was able to go to India at the times, but a lot of things were listed and also become a potential for us to explore more about our collaborations, especially our Ministry of Education just established new policies. They call it uh, Belajar Merdeka, freedom of learning, and freedom of campus. So it seems that so far we have not really uh, relaxed in studying or in campus. So what they have in that policy is to encourage us to establish collaboration not only among institutions in Indonesia but also abroad, especially India. So again, thank you, Prof. Vikrams. Hopefully, this is our first engagement, and we can uh, also do it again some in the near futures, through Mr. Rafi. Also is very active in connecting Indonesia and India, especially Apticoms. Apticoms are big associations. It's around, if it is institutions, it's around 1,500 institutions, higher education institution. When it comes to the study programs, it's almost 2,000 study programs. So with a wide range of quality for sure. And we in Apticom, which is the association in computers and informatics, would like to be a locomotive of all of these study program to improve our quality of education. So I have little presentations just to show you all. I think, okay, bisa bisa lihat ya semuanya. So this is what I would like to share with my fellows, Prof. Fikram, as well as my fellows from Indonesia, from Papua to Aceh. They are present in the through YouTube. We would like to share what we have done so far in order delivering education online, and I hope from this presentation all of us can get a insight, where we are, and also where are the things need to be strengthening, especially with the virtual classroom that just Prof. Vikram show us with very fantastic features, and hopefully we someday can test it the applications and use to deliver our online class, especially in this coming semester on August or September. This is the agenda that I would like to share: motivation, responsive to change, current status of online education, development and future direction, and conclusion. We cannot deny that industrial revolutions will go on until we reach what they call a society 5.0, where the technology play the main role. So, in order to catch up with all these technology advancements, we have to develop our capacity, and we have to also cope with all the technology advancements. Otherwise, we will left behind. And secondly, this is a COVID-19 that triggered radical change, not only in the consumer sides, but also in the producer sides. When it comes to educations, this also education provider as well as the education consumer, which is our students. So with the COVID, we try to think positively. We have to respond positively. That it's strengthening the situation that we live in the global village, and we are connected to each other. Uh, I would like to quote what Charles Darwin has said in 1884. It is not the strongest of the species that can survive, nor the most intelligent. So we don't have to be very, very smart, and we also don't have to be very, very muscle up that can survive. But it is the one that most responsive to change. That's the one that can survive. So higher education institution right now uh, facing problems. It is going to perish or flourish due to this COVID. Before that, due to the revolutionary industry 4.0. So our webinar today, it's in line with that. We have to respond all this changing so that we can flourish, yeah, not perish. Perish, it means you're distinct from the earth. Okay. Uh, okay. What has been done so far? I think I quote from Barack Obama, 2009. Change we can believe in. I love that quote. Yeah. And then our new Minister of Educations established the policies. He called it Merdeka Belajar and Kampus Merdeka, learning freedom and freedom of campus. This right before COVID. So when the COVID come, it just like what you call it, something that you're waiting for, so it's there. So we have to anticipate COVID aftermath, what we will do after the COVID. Distance education will be permanent. That's what just the minister said yesterday. I think it's very encouraging. So uh, it doesn't mean that our traditional education will be replaced, but instead, it will enrich and empowering, complementary to each other. So during COVID-19, most educational institutions, not only in higher education, but also from early childhood education, attempt to switch to online education. So with different gradations. Uh, all ICT that already have their uses are shifted for online learning. For example, we use our handphone mostly for chatting, WhatsApp, update status, etc. Suddenly with the COVID, even though before we already attempt to push our fellow Indonesian to use their technology for study or for teaching and learning, but it doesn't work. When it comes to COVID, we have no choice. We have to utilize whatever we have. So in order to do that, not all of us can keep up with all the technology, but at least it is become a challenge for us how we can transform our educational institution into digital institutions. And ongoing digital transformation in educational sectors. First, as I just mentioned, policies and regulations, it is being adjusted, and educational institution from early childhood school to higher education institution, training center, etc. This is also according to the capacity, the capability, they try to transform the institution to adopt this online learning. And information and communication infrastructures. With this COVID situations, we realize that there are a digital gap, yeah, the infrastructure gap. We Some of our area, especially in remote area, really lack of infrastructures. And in order to deliver online teaching and learning, it's not as easy as when we are living in the big city. So thanks to the COVID, by having COVID, we can map it more clearer. Where the area that need to be intervened with all these infrastructures, including like server, internet, bandwidth, etc. Also electric. And next is learning applications. See, we are caught by surprise with this COVID, and suddenly at the middle of our educational situations, we have to shift it to online learning. So we try to utilize whatever we have from social media application. Yeah, usually we use WhatsApp to say hi, say hello to others. Now we can push some of our materials, through WhatsApp, and also video through Facebook, Instagram, etc. And too sophisticated learning management. Some institutions already familiar with some of the learning management system, especially Moodles. Yeah, and plus online meeting like using Zoom, like we just have now, Google Meet, yeah, WebEx, etc. So I think this is in line with just Prof. Vikram said that all this technology that we have or we use not really naturally lend itself for education. It is like for meeting, official meeting, etc. It's not really replacing or mimicking the virtual classroom. So that's why we're really looking forward for the virtual classroom that Acharya used. And digital learning contents. With COVID also, we realized that our digital content so far are scattering everywhere, and we don't really have a clear map, what we already have, what we really don't have. But we know that when we want to teach, we don't have time to transfer it to digital. We try to find it from other sources, etc. So with all these hectic problems, it becomes our motivations, how we can put it things in order. And then human resources, teachers, lecturers, school manager, etc. We need to improve their capacity building, not only in teaching and learning as a traditional way, but we have to adopt and include technology in their pedagogy as well. So education landscapes will never be the same again. I am very sure about that. Yeah? without we realize, it's almost 4 months. We already practicing this online education or online learning, and it's move on until up to December. We don't know after that if it's COVID still there. I'm sure that the government will prolong this online learning. So in order to anticipate further, uh, it will be more adaptive. Yeah, educations with this online learning will be more adaptive because it comes to the individual, not only a group of people in or group of students in class, but it is go to the individuals, and it will more flexible, agile, and also more personal self-learning, more contextual, more relevant, and more humans. Yeah, because we can learn at our own times, at our own styles, at our own situation and conditions, and more freedom for sure. So what we have now, the situation in mostly all the institutions that transform their education into digital, they use all technology that they have now. Yeah, from very primitive handphone to a very sophisticated handphone, smartphone, laptops, etc. And we try to optimize all the functions in that technology, in that gadgets, how we can support, how they can support our online learning, our online education. That's from the technology point of view. So we can imagine that the range of the use of the technology usage is very wide, from a simple features to a very complicated features. So, in another word, we haven't have a standard yet. What are the a set of features that can be sufficient or minimal to use in online education? And from the application point of view, as I mentioned earlier, some of us use Facebooks, some of us use WhatsApp, some of us use a web browser, Instagram, and the one that more sophisticated, they already use learning management systems such as Moodles, and also get engaged with several learning resources such as Rumah Belajar. But again, through this COVID, we realized that all these applications are scattered, not really converging to a clear objective, but at least it solved a very temporary problems in short periods. So we really looking forward how we're gonna solve the problems for more permanent. And learning contents. This is also a problem. We so what you call that, so preoccupied with the traditional learning. Most of our learning contents available in printed matters, or if it is not in printed matters, it is in the textbook, and transfer some of it to our mind. So when it is come to online educations, all this learning content has to be presented in through several channels, and we realize that a lot of hole in that, a lot of weaknesses in order to deliver learning digital learning contents. So now some of the group individuals uh, racing to provide all this digital content through class, MOOC, digital library, digital content from online sources, museum, etc. So with the different gradation of digital transformation education, right now we can see that in Indonesia, we put it in one big systems, how our traditional teaching and learning at the same token also can deliver digital online learning. Yeah, such as we can see in this diagram, we can learn anytime, anywhere in the quadrant 4. This is the aims or the solutions for COVID that we face right now. And also we try very hard how to improve the quality of human resources, especially for the teachers, lecturers, school managers, etc., by integrating pedagogies and technology according to the advancements of technology, as we can see in this slide. And what is the developments and future direction of online education in Indonesia? For sure that it is a point of no return. Yeah, we cannot go back to our previous one. We with this COVID learned that online learning is an alternative to the situation where someone or teachers cannot meet face to face. Online education is empowering traditional education. A lot of people make a protest or critics saying that online education it seems like replacing or erasing traditional education. Not at all. As I just showed in that four quadrant before, it is a complementary each other's. No, I can say that it is almost impossible to have an online education if you don't have a very strong traditional education. So the Indonesian governments need to leverage its key resources like ICT infrastructures. You know, we need government interventions to sufficient the ICT infrastructure, especially in remote area. Also, to advance the application. This also we looking forward, like what the Acharya has, you know, virtual classroom and digital content, human resources, policies and regulation. Continuous quality improvement of online education. This is also something that we have to do. Yeah, we cannot ignore that because we don't want to hear complaint from the community, from the stakeholders that online education just like replacing or moving to another area from class to the computers. You know, we don't want to have that. And last but not least, it is capacity building on all stakeholders. As I mentioned before, you know, the capacity or the capability of our human resources varied from area to area, from school to another school. So we have to expedite, we have to speed up the capacity building, especially for our teachers and lecturers, including our students. Build and develop resource sharing entities. This is also an effort that we would like to, or some already done. Yeah, like for our samples in APTIKOM, we already developed MOOCs, massive open online courses. The idea behind it, you know, we're gonna deliver the courses that maybe not too many people really excellence in delivering the course, so they can access it through books and deliver it in their own institution. Publication, this is also related to the research collaboration, etc. Governments must provide basic infrastructure such as last mile access. This is also a problem for us. And what are the things that we would like to government provide is government has to provide incentive to the participants, so the motivation is still high, and also recognition is there, etc. In conclusion, as a nation, delivering online education need a coordinated action. Government, business, academician, and community. Online education is not canceling the traditional education. Instead, it is empowering it. It is complementary. Continuous human capacity building is a must, but integrating pedagogy and technology. I think that's all my sharing. Hopefully, with a very short presentation, everyone has an idea, you know, where we are at now and where we are going, and hopefully with almost 4,600 higher education institution in Indonesia, they can adapt to this transformation of digital. And we are looking forward for all the technologies that can provide solution to all the problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I believe from your presentation, what I can understand is that every crisis does create opportunities also, because there are many things which we always used to prolong it. But because of the COVID, I think now we are looking into many different areas which previously we never thought about it. So very interesting, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. Now, before we enter the next session, yes, Professor Vikram. Professor Vikram, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Prof.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Professor, I must say it was a very insightful presentation. A lot of interesting points, research based. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Vikram. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we move to the next part of the session, I would like to share, I mean, the team would like to share certain photos. Bapak Ibu, kita mau share foto-foto yang kemarin yang ada kunjungan dari APTIKOM ke India. Jadi ini kita mau share beberapa foto Bapak Ibu yang kita tanda tangan MOU waktu ada kunjungan. So the visit was from the 9th of Feb until the 15th of Feb in India. Ada 30 peserta dari APTIKOM yang led by Prof. Zainal Hasibuan. And then ada kedua kota seperti yang awal kita sampaikan Bapak Ibu, jadi itu kan ke Chennai dan ke Bangalore. And yeah, you can see all of them were trying, I mean, looking forward to work. Jadi ini kan bukan cuma MOU ya Bapak Ibu untuk tanda tangan, tapi ini udah langsung implementasi. Jadi terima kasih Prof. Zainal, jadi langsung kita bisa diimplementasikan. Yeah, so maybe we can just run through the photos. Maybe photos we can just share the photos to all of them. Right, ini ada MOU yang udah tanda tangan sama SRM Institute of Science and Technology yang di Chennai. Dan ada sekitar 25 universitas dari Indonesia yang ditanda tangan. Yep, next. Right. So you can see all these. Ini adalah Bapak Ibu yang dimulainya dari sini. Jadi hasilnya salah satu adalah yang hari ini Bapak Ibu. Dan ini bukan yang terakhir, ini yang awalnya. So I'm sure there will be many more collaborative opportunities yang kita bisa diimplementasikan antara India dan Indonesia. Right, ini adalah di Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education yang ada di Chennai juga Bapak Ibu. Right, so there was some meeting discussions about the ways of collaborative opportunities yang kita bisa diimplementasikan antara India dan Indonesia. Yep, next. Right, this was another MOU which was signed with Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology yang ada di Chennai juga ya Bapak Ibu. Ada juga kunjungan ke satu industry visit which was to Zoho. Juga ada waktu kita ada kunjungan ke India. Yeah, next. Right, that's all. So thank you so much, Prof, once again for your presentation, and thank you also, Professor Vikram, for your presentation. Before we move into the question and answer session, Bapak Ibu, maybe kita mungkin boleh minta agak session sharing tentang the experience about the visit to India, dan juga mungkin bisa disampaikan apa yang kita bisa dilakukan setelah acara yang ini dan juga setelah kunjungan ke India. So may I now request Pak Ari Prasetyo from Gunadarma, who's also in charge of the APTIKOM International Collaboration Development, to please share your thoughts. Pak Ari, the screen is yours. Pak Ari. Pak Ari, are you there, Pak?